Hey everybody, I'm Steve Scott, and I have right here with me the one and only Derrick Darling. So I brought him
Thank
in
God there's
today.
only one of them.
Thank God there is, but he's a good one. But what we're going to do is just talk a little bit about several different things, because Derrick's a really interesting guy, and you see him a lot on most of all our videos. He's the guy beating up poor Eric. Okay, and shout out to Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, there you go. Someday Eric will get his revenge, but nonetheless. We have Derrick in the studio here with us now in our fabulous studio. As you see, I spare no expense.
It's amazing. If you guys could see the rest of this room, you'd be shocked. Shocked and amazed.
Yeah, this is my weight room, and that is a screen back there, and this is a table, and here's a microphone, there's the camera. So it's sure not, NBC or ABC stuff you're seeing here. It's us on YouTube. So anyway, I did want to bring Derrick in and just talk a little bit, because I do get a number of questions from you guys. Who is Derrick? What does he do for a living? How long's he been training? What's his favorite martial art? So, Derrick, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit, bud?
Sure. I've been training since I was 27. A lot of people don't know that. I started pretty late in life. And I was just, I'd always wanted to get into it. And, I was a grown-ass man, for lack of a better term, and I had my own money and I could actually do it. So, I searched around. I was lucky enough to meet you. You showed me an arm lock, and I was pretty much hooked from then on.
And he's made a career out of that arm lock, by the way, but nonetheless.
So I guess, let's see, we're going on 11 years now.
Yeah, 11 years.
Yeah.
The thing is, it shows everybody that. Now, I started judo when I was 12, and now I'm 66, so that's a long time to be in this. And it shows that, if you have the right mindset and the right attitude, it doesn't matter how old you are when you start. Now, Derrick was still in his 20s when he started, and he was a very competitive guy. He competed a lot in judo, sambo, submission grappling, you name it, he's done it. But you don't have to be that way. You could just enjoy just coming into practice and practicing hard. And that's what Derrick's done. You've spent a lot of time on mat, off mat.
Oh yeah. I mean, so now that I own my own gym, I'm there probably 3/4 of the week, and I'm training on the mat at least 4 days out of the week.
Yeah.
So,
actually, your own training, I know that.
Yeah, actually, my own training. If you want to start counting like all the different things I do as far as like running and lifting, and we're probably going up way over a dozen times a week. But that's that's part of competing.
Yeah, right.
We have a lot of guys that don't compete though. I'd say maybe 3/4 of our program is just people that want to do it recreationally. The other 25% we let them know, this is how we've done it. This is what, you have to do to be serious about it.
Yeah, right.
And it's a huge commitment of time.
Oh, it absolutely is. And like a lot of guys you watch, like Eric and Mike. Now, Mike's done some competition in judo, and I think just judo, no sambo.
Yeah.
And but Eric really hasn't competed too much, but he'll roll with anybody. The guy is really good. A number of our guys are just like that, who are very good technicians, very serious about it. They come in multiple times during the week, and they train. And they also train off the mat.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to be a competitive athlete to be totally serious about learning your art or the science of judo, sambo, ju-jitsu, whatever it may be.
Or even to be extremely, good at it.
Right.
I mean, everybody that's ever rolled with Eric or even seen him on the videos knows the guy's got a lot of skill. Same thing with Mike. And like you said, we have a lot of guys that are like that, their technical level is really, really high, but they don't compete. And those two things aren't necessarily, locked in together.
Right. Years ago, one of my very good athletes, Chris Lean, and his dad, Larry Lean's a dear friend of mine, and he did judo, sambo, jiu-jitsu, Shingitai with us all. And Chris started with me when he was about 12 or so, and all through high school and everything, he was very, very good. Won the junior nationals in judo and sambo as well. And then he wanted to be a police officer. He went off to school, got his degree in criminology, and he said, "Steve, I'm gonna have to stop competing because I'm a police, so I don't want to get hurt." He says, I don't want to, wrench a knee or something. I can't take time off the job, and I can't, if I'm a cop, I can't be less than 110% as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so he said, as much as he loved to compete, and he kept coming in and training, and he got to be very, very good, and continued to be very, very good in Judo, Sambo, and Jiu-Jitsu. But he had to stop that just simply because it was what he did in his life's work.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're that way. You just got to do that. And you got a wife and 2 kids, and you juggle all this stuff with the gym and your regular job,
Juggling is the operative word there. That's it's nuts. Just as soon as you think that you're maxed out on time and you can't possibly do anything else,
then Stevie gets an earache.
Exactly.
Then something happens.
Geez.
So,
yeah. We're going through like number 3 in a row of double ear infections for Stevie. So for the rest of the parents out there with young children, I get your pain.
It's a lot easier when you're not married and have kids, and it certainly is.
Back to the time commitment thing. It's something that I talk to people a lot about. They'll say, "Oh well, I can't do it because I have this, or I can't come in and train because of this," and it all kind of comes back down to, for lack of a better word, excuses. And I'm not trying to be mean about it, but it's either an excuse or it's a motivation.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good point. Way to say it.
If it's important to you, just like anything else in your life, you make space for it. You make time for it.
Yeah, you really do. Yeah, that's a lot of people say, I don't have the time for it. Well, it means you don't want to have the time for it. And that's okay. I mean, if you've got other things that you need to do or want to do, but it's prioritizing what you want to do. And you've obviously made this a big priority in your life. I know that because I've seen you on the mat all those times.
Yeah. I kid with my wife, but I was serious about it when I said it. That I'd seen a lot of guys over the years. They'd get married or they'd move in with somebody, and immediately it was like the kibosh on training was put in. And I said, look, I'm not going to be one of those guys, but moreover, you don't want me to be one of those guys because I kind of need this. Like, you're not going to like Derrick off of training. Like, Derrick off of training is a kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
So
you
need me to get all this, like this extra energy and frustration and stuff out on the mat, because otherwise you're going to have to be dealing with it at home.
Well, and Chris Heckedon quite well.
Oh, yeah.
When Chris Heckedon was he was a world Sambo champion, and he started judo with me when he was a little boy, and he all through high school, and then he went off to college and wrestled in college, had a very good, successful career there. And then when he came back from college, he called me up. He said, "Coach, I want to start training again." And he said, I gotta have this. I need this. For my sanity's sake, I got to get back on the mat and beat people up. And that's how he put it. And I said, we laughed about it, but he did. And he went on to have a good, successful Sambo career after he got out of college, and that was good. So yeah, you got to be honest with yourself, and that's part of it. But you talked about training, and let's jump into a subject you and I have been wanting to talk about.
Sure.
Is on time spent in training, actual efficiency of training time. Yeah. And, I know how you feel about it, and we've talked about this often. So why don't you explain to everybody who's watching what we've been talking about? What are you talking about? What people do when they come in and train, how to be efficient? What are your thoughts on that?
There's a lot of different ways of looking at this. And for us, being guided by the Shingitai philosophy, certainly helps, but moreover, you've been around. You've been able to see high-level training, as Anne Maria DeMars said more than once. She's seen what training to beat the world looks like.
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't have to be quite that intense about it, but if you're wanting to be successful at something and you're wanting to be highly technical about it, there really isn't any way around the idea that you have to be drilling it. You have to put those hours in to build, number one, your foundational skill set. You're not just going to be able to hop into a car and expertly drift around a corner, or go and race in the, Indy 500. You have to log a lot of hours learning how to drive the car first, get your license, then you start learning the advanced stuff. Yeah. And a lot of what we do, I've heard it time and again from, people that don't really get it is, well, are we doing that again? Or, can't we do something new? And it's like, well, do you think that, Kevin Durant says that when he goes in to practice? No, he gets the ball, he goes, he practices his free throws, he practices his 3 points. There's so many foundational things that you have to keep sharp just to be able to do the more, impressive things,
That's right.
to work on the screens and things like that. And in our cases, you're not going to be able to do, a faked ankle pick into an Imanari roll into an inverted heel hook if you have no idea how to do those 3 individual things.
That's right. And that takes time in itself. Then you have to, let me make sure that's on. It is, okay. Then you have to make sure you put them together, you blend them together,
Yeah.
and then make it work for you.
Yeah.
Because it's not cookie cutter stuff. Yeah.
And that's a big part of the welcome mat way, is just understanding that, I as a coach, you as a coach, have to be able to teach what we're teaching to anybody. It's not going to be the world-class athlete that comes in and you've got 40 of them,
Right.
so you could be like, all right, you guys are going to be able to take whatever I throw at you and let's do this. You might have somebody that is 40 and never done this, never done anything athletic, might be a little overweight, might be short and shaped like a ball, might be like 6'5" and read thin. Some of you guys have seen Tall Jake here lately.
On the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's 170 pounds. Can you believe
he's
that?
about 6'4".
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like 6'4". He's
Yeah.
real thin.
Reminds me when I was a kid, and but yeah, different body types.
Yeah, different body types. You have to be able to show him how to do a knee drop and show, it might be a little different, but it's still a knee drop, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we take our philosophy's always been, we take a basic skill and we work on it when we talk mastery of skill, I'm not like some wizened old man with a gray beard. Even though I'm an old man with a gray beard, I'm certainly not wise.
You're not wise.
Yeah, far from that. But I don't mean that in the sense of being a master. You mastery of that particular skill set, then you progress on to a different thing.
Right.
Eventually, and if you got good coaching and you got good training partners and you got a curious mind, you're going to get to that point pretty quick about what's going to work for you best.
Sure.
And just like like your setups for like Jujigatami, the crossbody arm lock, it may be it's the same move, say on a spinning Jujigatami from the bottom, but you're going to be doing it the basic way is the basic way, but you're going to be doing it for a 165 pound guy as opposed to a guy like me who's about 240.
Right.
Our body types are different, so we adjust it just like anything else. And I think that's what you're talking about is efficiency and training in that way. Yeah.
You have to be efficient and know, not just what as an athlete, how you have to modify things slightly for you, how you operate and how you work. I'm not a heavyweight. So, sometimes when a heavyweight shows me a move at a clinic or something, or when I was first learning from you, a lot of times, I kind of fought like a heavyweight, even though I was a middleweight. And then I started to really listen and understand that, no, you have to dial that in for you. And it's on the other side of the ledger as well. You have to be able to do that as a coach for your athletes.
True.
And a lot of that also starts developing past that. And we talk about, I liken it to, the foundation of a building. You lay that groundwork, that foundation of cement of core skills, core training methods that we can then build off of. And it might be a 3-story house, it might be a 1-story house, it might be a ranch. You get to as an athlete and a martial artist determine that yourself.
Yeah, that's right. You build a good foundation, and from there, through your own interests and your coaching and proclivities, you make it work for you. Just like you guys watch the videos that you're always seeing me say, make the technique work for you. I got that phrase initially from Morris Allen, world Sambo champion, that I was fortunate enough in 1976. My dear mentor of mine, God rest his soul, you know how I go about that, but God rest his soul, Ivan Olson, great man. He was the father of American Sambo. He really was. And so he directed me to find Morris Allen, who was a Scotsman who would come over here to the States and now he continues to live here. He lives in Virginia now. But at the time, he was living in, of all places, Arkansas, which is not far from Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah. So I would drive down, my wife Becky and I would drive down and train with Morris. He was the real deal. He was a world Sambo champion, world-class judo man. I think he wrestled in the Olympics in freestyle wrestling as well.
Wasn't he on both the judo team and the
I think he was. He was a very, very accomplished, great coach. And, the first day I hooked up with him, he tore me inside out. He was tremendous. But he said, make your technique work for you. Make your judo work for you in that case. If you're doing Sambo, make the Sambo work for you. So learn the skill and then stylize it to the point where it works for you with a high rate of success. That's what you want, that good rate of success against willing and competitive people, not just schleps, not just tomato cans, but guys who are competitive with you. That's your test. And that's what they talk about shiai, like in judo. Yeah. It's not just a fight. Shiai means to test. And that's when you test yourself in a competition, it's against people of equal ability generally, and that's
a resisting target.
A resisting target. It's a good way to put it. So, well, real quick, let's. I'm one of the subjects I want to talk with him. I got him here, and we're going to try to do this fairly often. So we shoot. We're not going to show any cool. Yeah, you poor guys. Not going to show any cool techniques. We're just going to talk a little bit. But let's do a shameless plug for our online store. By the way, you see us at the end of the videos, and sometimes we flash it during the middle. Visit our online store. Well, Derrick is the guy that runs it, okay? So he's a computer whiz. Any problems, talk to Derrick. Don't talk to me. I'm a bonehead on this stuff. I'm like a green belt in computers. Remember when
you can't really say that anymore.
Yeah,
you used to be.
Oh, it was terrible,
now he's doing stuff like this, and
I call him, Derrick, I just crashed my computer. Can you come over? He'd come over at 11 o'clock at night, fix my computer, like he didn't have anything better to do. But anyway,
I didn't at the time.
Yeah, he was unmarried at the time. But he's the guy that runs our online store. Excuse me. And we've got books for sale. We also got hoodies.
Yes.
And T-shirts.
We've got T-shirts like this one right here, the General Welcome at Training Center.
And whether you're a Welcome at guy or not, you want to buy a Welcome at Training Center shirt, hey, we'd love to have you wear it. Yeah. We'd love to have you wear it.
We've also got the branded Jiu-Jitsu style one, and we just got in some.
And that's in blue.
That's in blue, and then we got in some gray ones that have Muay Thai.
Okay, so there you go. But tell us about what we got here. Let's. We have what's happening is some of you may know. Jujigatami Encyclopedia. I think this is probably my best book. I really.
I would agree with that.
And that's him on the cover, by the way, with Anthony.
It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm on the front, arm locking Anthony.
But by the way, hello Anthony, thank you for that. But this is out of print now. This is the Turtle Press edition. This was the first run of them. May not have been the right first run, but this is the first publisher of that. You can go ahead and put that in if you want to. And my new publisher, YMAA, is reprinting that book, and it'll be coming out in May of 2019. So we still have a stock of the very first edition of these that came out under Turtle. What happened with Turtle, they were wonderful people. They treated me great. They just took a different business direction, and they went more into the Korean martial arts as opposed to the general stuff they'd been doing with me and other authors. So that's why there was changed publishers.
And for those of you who have been on Amazon lately and looking at the prices, that's consequently why the prices have gotten a little ridiculous, but they're not in print anymore.
Yeah,
so
they're not in print.
Supply and demand, and now not being in print, that kind of makes it a collector's item. So if you are at all interested in probably the best book ever printed on Jujigatami, the crossbody arm lock, this is it. Get it now. We're going to be putting this one and one of the other books on sale here for a couple weeks, probably, maybe a month.
Well, what we want to do is sell them out, so make it something which you want to buy, a good enough price. 400 pages or so, maybe a little less. Nothing but Jujigatami, and he was in on. We did multiple photo shoots.
Oh yeah. It took a while to do that, but there's a lot of really other good guys that are in here, like Kelvin Nicely's in there.
All our crew's in there really, and it's a good bunch. We got another book here that John Saylor and I co-authored. Put that up there, Vital Jiu-Jitsu. Again, when we say Vital Jiu-Jitsu, it's kind of a generic thing. It could be anything, with submission grappling. Judo guys, Sambo guys will sure get a lot out of it. John and I co-wrote that. who is one of my dear and best friends, talented man, really talented man, and we put that out as just kind of our book about our Shingitai philosophy of training. Shin, being spirit, fighting spirit, and mental approach. Gi is a practical application of technique, and Tai is the physical fitness aspect, the body part of it. So it kind of explains that. Lots of very practical, no gi stuff, by the way. We did a lot of, you're in a lot of those photos, and so we did a lot of. That'd be a good book for anybody who likes cross training.
Yeah,
it really would be.
Lots of drills, lots of different moves and stuff in there. A good mix between the no gi and the gi type elements. So great book.
Yeah.
Not a lot out there that are that's written by such two highly technical coaches.
I paid him money to say that, but
He did.
But a lot of drills, a lot of situational stuff in here too, like like go behinds, breakdowns, turns, a lot of cool stuff like that. Let's see what else we got. Put up teaching on the mat there. This is the latest book that I did in 2018. That came out this last July or August. I think it was July, and it was a self-published one. It is a small book as a follow-up from my original book years ago, Coaching on the Mat, and there are 18 separate subjects in this little book, and we've got it for sale at our web store, our online store. And if you're a coach, a real serious student, that's a good one to buy. Just different thoughts on, coach burnout, lesson planning, just general progression of skill, warm-ups, all kinds of stuff, and 18 different little sections in there that's be interesting to you.
And again, it's not just for judo and Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, this is definitely a teaching and coaching type of book. So if you are at all interested in pedagogy for the martial arts, that's the book to go with. It maybe if you're a new coach or a coach that just might be feeling a little stale in some of their, what they're teaching, how they're teaching it, read it. It's worth its weight in gold. I
think it'd be a good one for them. Pull out there. Let's get Vital Leg Locks next. This was I think one of the first books published, and I forget what year it was. It's a bit of age on it, but it's has a lot of the guys in it. It's the first book on leg locks, and Vital Leg Locks, because they're just the basics, the essential elements of doing leg locks, and we show
65 to be exact.
65 different leg locks, and it's a lot of packed in that little book there. And again, that was published through Turtle. They're out of print. There are no more to be printed. We have no plans on it.
2007.
2007. So we got some age on this. It's about 12 years old now, and it's one of my early books, so everybody's kind of stiff in their poses and everything, but you get the idea. A lot of good stuff in there. That sold a lot of copies for Turtle. It was a very good seller, and when they went out of business along this line of work, along this line of publishing, I bought, I think, only a couple of hundred, and we just have very few left.
Yeah.
So they are available. You can get them on our online Vital Leg Locks. It's just nothing but leg locks. And
gi and no gi as well.
Yeah, gi and no gi stuff. Yeah. Okay, we got another book that was really popular. This was a big seller for Turtle Press for me. Drills for Grapplers, and it's drills and games. They're mat games, drills games, gi and no gi stuff. And we have quite a few of these left. I think we had about 20 or 25 copies of this left. So if you want to buy it, Derrick has it on the online store.
WelcomeMatStore.com.
On the WelcomeMatStore.com. We'll flash it here. But that's a good little book on mat games, mat drills. I mean, nothing exciting or wild or highly innovative, but they're just good, solid things a coach can use or an athlete can use to round out his training. So that's what that's about. The next one, we have very few copies of this one left. This was a huge seller for Turtle for me, is Tap Out Textbook. Derrick's in here with a lot of the other guys, mainly no-gi stuff, but it is what it is. It's a tap-out textbook, and on a variety of situations. Whether you're an MMA guy or whatever, that's a good book. I don't think we have very many of these left, maybe 10 or 15 at the most.
If that. It's a very big book, almost 500 pages, lots and lots of different submissions, large format, so you've got some big pictures in there describing the different steps to the different types of submissions, and it's split up pretty generally between the different types, arm locks,
leg locks, that type of stuff, strangles, chokes. So Tap Out Textbook, that's a good one. A lot of people like that, no matter what your martial art what it be.
Yeah.
The last one here on the Q is winning on the mat. We have probably about 30 or 40 of these left. I bought all that I could when Turtle went out of business on this. After we sell these, they're no more. This is, a lot of people said it's a definitive book on coaching and teaching judo, but it's also lots of techniques. You're in a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
And what is it, about 400 some odd pages, and we got about 1,500 photos.
400 pages.
A lot of action shots from competition, from judo tournaments. And I parse them down, I break them down, and so that's what that is.
That was one of the more interesting things that I found about this book, in addition just to the fact of how comprehensive it is, but it is almost entirely competition photos.
Yeah.
Examples of this actually occurring in, judo matches, sambo matches, submission grappling matches. So great book. Lots of really interesting viewpoints on judo, as well as the meat and potatoes of what it takes to be successful.
Right. Well, what I did, I analyzed quite heavily the different types of defensive movements, different types of gripping. Talk about coaching off the mat if you're a coach, how to coach effectively off the mat. A lot of cool stuff like that. I think it'd be a good book. And again, shameless plug here, but a lot of people have asked us, what are these books about? And real quick, also coming up March 2019, be the publication by YMAA of my book, be called The Judo Advantage, and it is a real serious look at mainly for coaches, but also any serious students of why and how judo works, the biomechanics. Because judo is the ultimate form of kinesiology. The kinesiology is the study of body movement and human body movement, and what else better than judo?
Sure.
Not only controlling your movement, but your opponent's movement.
Yeah.
So
I like to tell people that have no idea what it is. I'll say it's pretty basic. It's physics and it's biomechanics. That's it.
And how it also ties in traditionally the way judo has been presented. That Jigoro Kano guy, he was a pretty smart dude, and the founder of judo, and everything he laid out was, so systematic, and we built on that, and we explained why it works. So it's not just, hey, those old guys didn't know anything and we know better. No, it really shows how a lot of the very so-called traditional training methodology stands the test of time because it works. It really does work, Yeah. Well, let's change gears here and just kind of wrap it up. Two things I want to talk about. The Sambo getting maybe in the Olympics. And you're a Sambo guy. You're not used to, you're second in the Masters and the Veterans Championships in the Worlds and Pan American bronze medalist and national champion, all that. And you coach it actively.
Yep.
We have a vested interest in Sambo. I'm an old-time guy. I first got in Sambo, like I said, with Morris Allen in 1976 after doing judo, and I love it. It's like my girlfriend on the side to the loving wife of judo. But anyway, it was great news to us.
Huge.
What are your thoughts on
after
it?
years, when I first started, and I can remember you explaining to me what Sambo was and how much it impacted what we did, even when we weren't doing Sambo. And the first thing out of my mouth was, that sounds like fun. Leg locks in competition, big throws. Okay, cool. When and where can I do this?
Yeah.
Well, not really right now, unless you want to go over to the East Coast.
Yeah. And that's where most of the Sambo is.
Right.
One time my friend Jim Schneeweiss, of course, with the able assistance and guidance of my wife Becky, back in 1977, we held the first Sambo tournament in Kansas City, and it was one of the very first Sambo tournaments in the United States, as we found out later. I think February of '77, and we had a small crowd, but it started to attract, and it gained some popularity.
Yeah.
And then when our win got taken out of our sales, when it wasn't included in the '80 Olympic Games, that was a big hope for us. Then '84, we were hoping it would be included in the '84 Olympic Games as a demonstration sport. It wasn't. It pretty much was a death knell of Sambo for quite a while, until just recently. Then FIAS, the International Sambo Federation, I think
making another big push.
Making a big push, and I think a lot of that is from Vladimir Putin, really.
Yeah, it helps that there were a few, diehards helping keep it alive, especially in this country. When you go and you compete internationally, I'm used to it a little bit from the judo side of it. Everybody else is funded, everybody does it as their job, but in Sambo, it's still that way for a lot of countries, and they didn't really have too much of the gap that we did,
Yeah. Well, hats off to Steve Kepfer,
Yep.
Greg Humphreys, Lenny Polyakov.
Yep.
If I
Mikhail
don't mention-
Kaczynski, Bob Clark.
Yeah, there you go. Those guys were keeping Sambo alive, and hats off to those guys for keeping the faith.
And you too. Good coaches like you that are still
I got
doing
out of it to do more judo and jiu-jitsu, but we also got back into it when we did the book together. But that's coming out. Sambo Encyclopedia is coming out, I think, in 2019 or 2020 as well. So that's a book you might want to get. But getting back to
the basics of what has happened. So the Olympics are about nothing if not politics. So everything goes in inches, and basically what we've got now is they've officially recognized the sport and said, okay, fine. You're not underwater basket weaving, and we're going to take a look at you structurally and make sure that you have the support amongst all the countries, the logistics, that everything's being run above board and like they expect.
Yeah, there are different steps you have to take to become an Olympic recognized sport, and this is a huge step. FIAS has been taking them up to this point.
Yeah.
This was they opened the door now and said, okay, come on in. Now we're going to take a real serious look at you. So I think it'll be too late for you because we've been joking about 2020.
Yeah. Well, the unfortunate part about it is that it's a 3-year period where they're going to basically be looking at everything on the international level with Sambo. So that takes us to the next Olympics, and that's when they can say, okay, next time you could potentially be a demonstration sport, and then after that,
I don't think they're demonstration sports anymore, but included provisionally,
right.
yeah.
So, and then after that, then you get solidified.
Right,
so we're probably talking at least 8 to 12 years.
Yeah, actually, for judo, a lot of people, judo's an Olympic sport. Well, it was then the Olympics did demonstration sports, and in 1964 in Tokyo, it was a demonstration sport. And then it wasn't recognized in 68. They still had some things to do. And in 1972, they were fully admitted as a sport for men. And then 88, it was a demonstration sport for women in Seoul, Korea. And then 92 in Barcelona, it became an official sport for women too. So now it's fully included in the Olympic Games. Judo is for both men and women. But and that's what Sambo is really doing now.
Yeah.
And we missed our shot back in the 80s. And I'm not joking when I say I think the influence of Vladimir Putin as a world leader, because he's a judo guy, he's a Sambo guy. He first started Sambo, then he got into judo, and he was very good at both.
Yeah,
and
he's throw left and right.
Yeah, that's right. He was a very good athlete, and he's done a lot for the sport of Sambo, and I think it's given it some good momentum.
Yeah. Like I said, it's politics.
It's
you
politics.
need somebody with some weight behind you, pushing you up the hill.
And I say he's got that.
Yeah,
right? He's definitely got the weight. So that's good for us in Sambo. That I think it'll eventually be, but maybe too late for you as an athlete. But at some point in the future, you have no plans of getting out of Sambo.
No. I'll be, I'll probably compete and continue to compete in the Masters. And we've already got guys that are competing, guys like Matthew McCormick. He just got his first national championship.
Yeah.
Was it like a year or two ago?
A couple of years ago. So we got guys in the gym working, and then we got a lot of good Sambo guys out there. It's a small but growing community.
Yeah.
And it always has been small. Sambo, like a local reporter said to me one time years ago when he was covering one of our Sambo tournaments here in Kansas City, he said, Sambo is not for the faint of heart. And because he watched that, he thought he was going to come into some kind of a high school wrestling tournament or something. And he saw that, and he said to me, he said, oh, my God. He said, you guys are crazy. He said, and he wrote in his article, Sambo is not for the faint of heart. And I've loved that quote. I've used it several times.
You need to put that on his shirt.
Yeah, we should actually put that on a shirt. That's our idea, guys, our idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, and let's talk about, I'm a big believer in ground fighting. I indoctrinated you early in that.
Yes.
But it makes sense. And my ground fighting came primarily from judo. My newaza, ground fighting skills, primarily came, and a lot of I picked up when doing Sambo as well.
Sure.
And of course, John Saylor's approach, the Shingitai approach. So Shingitai is, we do a lot of groundwork.
Sure. And they're all very complementary.
Yeah. So we've done a lot of cross training, but the basics are the judo.
Sure.
I mean, for anybody, no matter what they tell you, it all goes back to judo.
Yeah.
It really does. So you have some thoughts on ground fighting.
Well, we were talking about this the other day, and there's the old saying that eventually all fights end up on the ground. It doesn't matter if it's a grappling match or not. But just the tendency the last 5-10 years to be talking to younger judoka, and inevitably it comes out that if they do drill on the ground at all, their newaza is BJJ based, that they have to go to another gym, to ostensibly another martial art, to learn newaza, which is already part of judo.
Yeah, and it's I think largely, entirely due to the IJF rules.
Yeah,
that they've limited the time in newaza.
Yeah. And it's getting, and I'm sure we'll get some people that are making comments about and saying, oh, it's gotten much better now. That is true, but if anybody wants to tell me that it's the same as when Kashiwazaki and Neil Adams were fighting, you can just keep on talking, because it's not. It's, and especially going through that period where it was basically, like if you're not choking somebody within 3 seconds, or you're not a previous world champion, you're getting called up. Mm-hmm. And it, when that's happening, coaches don't coach the newaza, because they coach to where the sport's going.
Well, yeah, when you're a competitive coach, and I know you are too,
yeah,
you coach under whatever set of rules your guys are fighting under.
Sure.
Like Saylor always said, he said, just give me a few weeks. Let me learn those rules and learn how to use them. And my guys will train for them, and we'll win under that set of rules. And I think that's the way it is, any competitive sport.
Yep.
Basketball, judo, wrestling,
but
whatever.
the real difference here, though, is that you look at the and again, it's like you said, it doesn't matter if it's wrestling or basketball or whatever, irregardless of the sport, they have a sound fundamental grasp of the entire game.
Right.
And they're able to take that knowledge and like modify it slightly to fit in the shape that you have to do within the rules these
That's
days.
right. That's right.
It's not like Bear Bryant would be changing up his game too much for current day football. He'd still probably have the same thing. He'd have some differences, because he'd have to.
Right.
But there's no way that it would be an entirely different game for him. And that's the unfortunate part about newaza and judo, is that because it's not a big part of the rule set, they're just completely scraping it to the side. Well, why should we teach that? Because you can't do it in competition.
Yeah, we often say judo is not just a sport. No. It's a physical education. It's certainly a character building event. And Kano's 3 principles, character building, physical education, and sport or self-defense, the physical aspect of it. And when you limit your teaching of judo to just what would work for a competitive situation,
right?
Again, and that's why a number of years ago I wrote the freestyle judo rules. So because they were freestyle, they were more open to a lot of ground fighting, a lot of throws were included. A lot of new throws are not included in the IJF. And again, this isn't a slam of the IJF. They have a wonderful purpose and do it, and with the Olympic Games and all that. And I totally get that, but from a general purpose, for just doing judo, we don't want to lose the science and art of judo, Kodokan Judo, but just because the rule set is different. I mean, through judo's history, there have been dozens of different contest rules.
Leg locks used to be included.
Very, very early, leg locks were included. Wrist locks were included many, many years ago. And of course, they were taken out for some for safety reasons, others not. But now with the so don't be faddish, as it were. Don't be on the current whatever is the thing lately. Teach all of judo. And again, and this isn't a slam on BJJ, because we respect the BJJ community totally. But when a judo guy has to go outside of his own dojo in judo to learn BJJ ground fighting,
and then take it back into
judo.
I mean,
so hey, judo coaches out there, it's on us. It's on us. Let's step up our game and keep teaching that good newaza, and all the so-called banned throws like kataguruma and morote gari and teguruma, all those cool things. let's keep teaching them. I know
Yeah.
we do. You know,
We can have competition programs just as much as we can have, people that want to do it for self-defense and people that want to do it just for recreation.
for learning the whole totality of what judo is. Yeah.
Judo for all.
Yeah, judo for all is a good phrase, and I know our good friend Sophie Cox uses that, and other people do too. But it sure is, and and like Norm Miller, I picked the phrase up from him years ago. Judo is for everybody.
Yeah.
Judo is for everybody,
Yeah.
and so is Sambo, Jiu-Jitsu, whatever it may be. It's for you too. We do a lot of cross training, so we're firm believers in cross training. So. But,
And that's not to say that you shouldn't go out and cross train at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. The point is how patently ridiculous it is that you would have no other option but to do that if you wanted to learn some ground fighting.
Yeah,
If
true.
if I cross train all the time with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, they come to my gym. I'll go to their gym. That's one of the joys of the community that we have is you can, work out with judo guys, work out with sambo guys, work out with BJJ
since we do
guys.
so much sambo as well,
Yeah.
and of course John Saylor the Shingitai, because we blend all that and that overall arching philosophy that he has. But we do a lot of sambo in judo gis.
Yeah.
I mean, when somebody, I remember when somebody said watching him do a particular way of, I forget what throw it was, crossbody Osoto, some throw, and they said, well, and they knew me, and they said, well, he's one of your sambo guys, isn't he? And I said, well, yes, he is, but he's also a judo guy, and he's also a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
But the cross-training, there is a definite kind of look about a sambo throw that's a little bit different than a judo, not always, but generally. Yeah. But you can kind of tell when you look that stylistic look, But that's the thing of cross-training, if you keep that open mind and keep your base that we do, and it will expand you, make you better at what you do.
Yeah.
And then you'll have fun doing that other thing you're cross-training in as well.
How much, and that's kind of the thing that I go back and forth with a lot of people about is that their concept of like cross-training is usually, well, I'm not going to come into the gym anymore. I'm going to go over to this other gym and it's cross-training. It's, no, you get your foundation, you continue to build off of it, and then you go out and you get more tools for your tool belt that you bring back in to make you better overall.
And if you want to do that sport, good, or that activity, do that too.
Do the other, I do.
But don't quit the first one. Yeah, right. That's what's.
We're not bouncing in between.
That's right.
Sports,
and we're not advocating that, guys. We don't want you to stay. Like when you change clubs, you always got that first sensei. That's your coach. Stay loyal to that coach. I did on mine, Jerry Sweat, and then later Ken Reganitter, and then later I worked with a lot of other great talented people. But that was the base. That was your base.
Look at how varied your teaching is now, because you've continued to build off of your considerable knowledge in judo, with the sambo, with the submission grappling, with the Shingitai Jujitsu. All of that just continues to build and make. I mean, it's almost, when you think of it, like a good, like stew. You can continue to build to it and add techniques to it, and it becomes better and better over time.
Right. And that's what we try to do.
Yeah.
And by the way, real quick, just to wrap up, we started, and that made me think just what you said there. About 10 years ago now, or however long, about 8 years ago, can't remember. Mike Pennington, you see him a lot in the videos. He's, like I said, one of our good black belts. He came in and he said, hey, Coach, he said, we work on a lot of cool stuff. You need to put this on video. And I said, really? Yeah, you really should.
And of course I was like,
and okay, like I'm a total dunce on anything along this line of, computers or whatever. And he even bought me a camera, the first little bloggy camera.
Yeah.
And he brought it and he gave it to me. He said, just aim it and go and talk. And when you're drilling, when we're coaching, one of us will hold it while you coach. And we started doing that from that very early beginning. Now I'm actually have somewhat of an idea what we're doing. I can edit and stuff. But thanks to Mike Pennington, and he's still with us, trains hard, he's a super guy, but he's the guy that's to blame for all this stuff you're seeing now while we're on camera here in this lavish basement.
If you're tired of seeing this, you can just write Mike an email. And
yeah,
thank him
Mike
directly.
Pennington's the guy. But he had a good point, and I hope more of you out there are coaches or skilled technicians, get on the YouTube and the internet and Facebook, wherever, and use these. This is a great coaching tool. I don't get on Facebook really because I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what you had for breakfast. It's not my business. But as a coach, this is a great vehicle for me to help you, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or whatever, Instagram, whatever else, the other great stuff out there.
It's great that we have this ability to reach out and help people, vice versa too. Like across the sea, somebody in Kazakhstan could post a video of something that they're doing. We could view it over here and be like, "That's amazing."
Yeah,
we'd never.
And we do.
And we do. Yeah, especially him. You love those.
I love doing that. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. That judo. And I'm a big fan of Mongolian wrestling.
Yes.
A book, as they say. One of our guys in our club is Mongolian, and he says it's pronounced book. And if I'm slaughtering that, I am sorry, but it's B-O-K or B-A-K. It's spelled, at least anglicized. But anyway, it is the Mongolian wrestling. If you want to watch some crazy wrestling on grass, watch Mongolian wrestling. Hours of entertainment for you.
Yes.
Hours of entertainment. But well, anyway, hey, thanks, Derrick. Good seeing you again,
Thanks
brother.
for having me.
Yeah, he's like one of my surrogate sons. Okay, and I've got several of them, and those poor boys, what they have to deal with. I'll be a crotchety old man. I'm pretty crotchety now, and I'm an old man, but I'll be even worse at some point. But he'll change my diapers, and he has to deal with that. But anyway, thanks so much, and we'll try to do more of these. These are fun to do, and this is a way for you can see and talk to those, at least we're talking, you can kind of get our points of things, not just in the gym showing you a move. There's a real person behind that, and that's what the point of this is.
You guys have been pretty good so far about like messaging like questions about like, hey, do you guys have a video on this or that? So this is the same thing. If we were going over a topic you want to hear more about, or there's a topic that we didn't cover that you'd like to hear about, send us a message, let us know.
Yeah, really. We have a great YouTube channel. As we video this, it's like 13,300 some odd people or more subscribers. We're working on 3 million views. We'd like to have a lot more because I know there are a lot of good martial arts YouTube channels out there that we'd like to break into that, get more people watching. I think we have good value what we have here.
Sure.
So and you can't beat the price because it's free. So anyway, hey guys, thanks a lot, and I will see you next time.